Hello and welcome to the 45th episode of the Dynamo Football Book Club. My name's Alistair Bond and I'm joined by my co-host Johnny Coughlin. Johnny, you're a good man and a good father.
Thank you very much, Al. So are you.
Well, and this week we are doing the Kevin Keegan autobiography. What's it called? My Life in Football? Is it called My Life in Football?
Yeah, I think there's about 20 books called My Life in Football, but yeah, this is one of them.
Okay, and it's co-written by Daniel Taylor, notable Forest fan. Well done, Daniel.
Is he now? He was a Guardian's chief footballer at one stage. Is he an athletic guy now?
Yeah, he's head of Forest reporting. He's been bringing me all this horrible Nuno stuff over the weekend.
Oh.
But it's going to be all right, Johnny. It's going to be all right, isn't it? It's going to be all right, isn't it? It's just going to be all right. There's actually a bit in this Keegan book, sorry, I want to get it in where when he's at Liverpool, Shankly leaves and he talks about Shankly leaving Liverpool and there's like video clips of a reporter telling kids, did you hear Bill Shankly's leaving Liverpool? He's like, hey, what? Hey, you kidding, ain't you? Hey. That was me Friday morning. I woke up, clicked on my phone, had a look. Oh, who's this? What's this message from Rob? Oh, no. Awful.
I've seen that video of that little red-haired kid.
Yeah, I watched it too, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was brilliant. You're kidding, ain't you? What? No.
Yeah.
No.
I have a few questions for you.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about hairstyles.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever shaved your head?
Yes, I have shaved my head.
Have you ever bleached your head? Or bleached your hair even, not your head?
I have bleached my hair, yes, Johnny.
Have you had long hair?
Yes.
How long?
Like down by my, like by my shoulder length. It wouldn't grow any further than that. I used to want to be metal when I was a teenager.
And then finally, have you ever had a perm?
No. And I'll tell you what, Johnny, I'm going to make a bold prediction and say I never will.
The perm ship has sailed for you, has it?
There is no way a perm will ever be anything but shit to me, like all the way through. I mean, I look at his hair. Keegan famously has a perm, for people who don't know about Keegan, and it was a bubble perm. But that, to me, was the very epitome of naff when I was a kid. The bubble perm was the absolute peak of naffness back in the late 80s, because you needed a spike back then. That was cool. A lovely spike. Bubble perms, bad.
Okay, the other thing was, do you think that you're a victim of the English press and their relentless campaign to paint Kevin Keegan as some kind of like buffoon?
Oh, do I? No, I don't feel that Kevin Keegan is a buffoon. I feel he's relatively hapless. But, well, I mean, I don't think he's a buffoon at all, Johnny. I've got so much to say about Kevin Keegan, but none of those things are buffoon-like. I think he's kind of just... He's an innocent, isn't he? He's a wide-eyed innocent, like, just stumbling through life. Oh, that's not what I want to say about him. Honestly, Johnny, I think he was the first ever footballer I was aware of. I think, deep down in my psyche, if you say to me, picture a footballer, I think of Keegan in a Panini sticker in that sick England kit from 82 with that perm. I think that's who I first ever knew of as a footballer. I mean, suffice to say, Kevin Keegan was there my entire coming of age. He was always there. Keegan was always there. Apart from actually when he retired for 8 years and fucked off to Spain. But other than that, he was just so ubiquitous in my youth and childhood.
I don't remember him as a player, really, Keegan. To me, Keegan was always a manager, and he is kind of a hapless, like I said, buffoon. And likable always, but I suppose that, famous interview in that Newcastle year is seared into my mind. I guess I was 12 when that happened, and as a United fan, that was probably the biggest thing that happened to me that month of my life, that particular interview, So I guess that's always kind of colored my view of him. But he's lovely, isn't he, Keegan? He comes across in this book as such a tremendous chap.
Yeah, he's absolutely charming. I was thinking that when I was reading it, because, Keegan's pain was all of our pain. But Keegan's pain was your joy, wasn't it, Johnny? Seeing that broken man, that brought you joy. Like when he disappeared behind the advertising hoardings against Liverpool, and the whole country was like, "Oh fuck, poor Kev," and you were like, "Yeah, come on." It's sad.
Yeah, absolutely. But the reason I was asking about how he's painted by the press, he's obviously talking about himself here, but he did a good job of impressing me with his managerial CV more than his managerial career did at the time.
Well, the man is so humble. It's incredible. This book, it's about 300 pages. Like 80 pages are dedicated to his glittering football career. Like glittering. And this is I didn't realize how good he was, Johnny. 831 games, 285 goals, 4 league titles, 1 FA Cup, 4 European finals, and 2 Ballon d'Ors, and was robbed for a third. I mean, that's wild, man. And by the way, he lost to Alan Simonsen, the great footballer. Who the fuck was Alan Simonsen? Played for Denmark. Ballon d'Or? Who? Played for fucking Borussia Mönchengladbach. What? Anyway, but yeah, he lost to him in at best controversial circumstances. But yeah, astonishing. He was the most famous man in England. He was so famous. It's wild. He was so good at football, but he's so fucking humble. I mean, he says right at the start, I was the mongrel that got to Crufts. No, you weren't. You were the beautiful Labrador that got to Crufts. You lovely, lovely golden retriever you are of a man. Maybe a poodle, but yeah, he's a golden doodle, isn't he? He's a lovely golden permed doodle, just sweet and happy and lapping away. Sometimes he might bark at Ferguson, but other than that, he says, he says right at the start, I'm probably most famous for falling off my bike doing Superstars, my single Head Over Heels in Love, and for having my meltdown against Alex Ferguson. But he should be famous for being twice Ballon d'Or winner, for winning 2 European Cups, for being European Footballer of the Year. The man was fucking brilliant. He was so good, and he's so humble in a way that, not since Puskás have we come across a player who wears his greatness so lightly.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's probably part of why he's remembered for those things. If he took himself a lot more seriously, the text of Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo, he doesn't wear his greatness lightly, does he? So if he took himself a lot more seriously, he probably would remember it in a different way. But I just thought he was such a lovely fellow, such a nice man. I found this book quite charming. I found him very charming.
Well, this book reminded me of 3 people. One was, I did think it was very Puskás-like. In its the innocence and the naivety, that seemed very Puskás, like a pre-modern man. It also did strike me a little bit like one of Alan Partridge's books. Have you ever read any of Alan Partridge? Just the way he phrases things. Yeah. We'll get to it, but he suffers a severe. In fact, he suffers 2 severe beatings. But when I was reading it, I just heard Alan Partridge's voice as the vicious blow with a baseball bat descended upon me for the third. I mean, it was very funny. And the other book it reminds me of, funnily enough, is Morrissey. I take it you've not read Morrissey's autobiography, Johnny?
No, I haven't.
I mean, okay. I mean, it's like Morrissey's autobiography in one way, in as much as half of Morrissey's autobiography is just, can you imagine the flowery prose Morrissey's using to describe his family and all that, and growing up in Manchester and all that, and half of the book's about the albums, and it's quite interesting and good. And then the other half is the fucking lawsuit with the rest of the Smiths, and all it is, he's just so angry, and that's all it is. It's just technical, boring detail. So half of his book about about a third of his book is about his glittering career. A third of his book is basically him describing his limitations as a manager. And the other third of the book is just destroying the Cockney Mafia at Newcastle. Fucking hell, he hates those lads. He hates them so hard.
That's the motivation for the book, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And it was 10 years previous as well. It just seems so raw as well on the page. This book was written in 2018 and he's fired by Newcastle, or he walked away from Newcastle in 2008. But 10 years later, man, it's still raw, isn't it? He's still an exposed wound.
Dennis Wise turns out he's everything off the field that we thought he was when we saw him on the field. He's a right fucking piece of work, isn't he?
Well, that was a Partridge bit. I looked him in the eye and told him, I do not want to shake your hand, Dennis Wise. No, he doesn't. I looked him in the eye, but he made sure. So, yeah, it's ever such a funny book. It starts with him slipping into disguise so he can go to like some backroom staff's leaving do at Newcastle United. That's how he starts the book. He's sneaking around like in disguise so he can get into St James's Park because he's been banned by Mike Ashley. So he's incognito at the start. And the very end of the book, he's mistaken by a tramp. He's mistaken for a tramp, and someone gives him a pound coin. I just thought it was a weird way to start the book and a weird way to end the book. Both. Honestly, this was the joy, Johnny. I absolutely loved it.
He has a bit of a thing for getting into disguise, isn't he? Which he explains that he's into it.
So he starts off, he's sneaking into St James's Park. By page 5, he writes this line: "Please, God forgive Mike Ashley, for he knows not what he does." I mean, Newcastle United is like Jesus. But at least he wants God to forgive Mike Ashley. I don't think he wants God to forgive Tony Jimenez and Dennis Wise, but we'll get to those two fucking assholes later.
Yeah, Tony Jimenez.
It's so
so his father was in the mines, which I guess is kind of a reminder of how old Keegan is. And the mines really does sound like the pit. It's fucking terrible, isn't it?
Wait, nice one.
His dad got very sick, having been in the mines, and died of cancer. But his dad refused to go to the bar to get Keegan's drinks because Keegan used to drink half pints. I thought that was a lovely little detail.
Oh, I'll get you half pint. Yeah, I know. Just a Yorkshire miner. I mean, he really is proper working. You know, it's a beautiful story for that. The whole dad stuff, Johnny, I've got a bit about his dad. And it genuinely, I had a tear in my eye when I was reading it. All right, so here's some lovely things about his dad. When he used to play at Liverpool, the chairman of Liverpool used to bring Keegan's dad a little whiskey before the game, and it made Keegan's dad feel really important. I just think that's a classy touch, isn't it? It hurts me to say nice things about Liverpool, but well done, John Smith, there. And this actually, I was teared up. So he's on his deathbed, old Keegan's dad. And his mum said, he's like, yeah, what will the Liverpool score? And he's like, I know they lost. And she's like, no, they didn't. Liverpool won 2-0 with goals by Keegan and Toshak. And they didn't, they lost. But it's just so lovely. That was his dad's last thing he heard, like when his son had scored. And
It's
Liverpool
quite
had
poignant,
won.
isn't it?
It was poignant. Not as described by me, actually. Oh, and another family detail as well. This is fun. So when he goes to Newcastle, this Geordie lad contacts him in the 80s when he's a player, and he says, are you any relation to Frank Keegan? And he's like, I don't think so. And he's like, but it turns out Keegan's granddad, in one of the biggest mining disasters in the UK, had like rushed in to like saved like dozens of people. Like there's a mining disaster in Newcastle, I think in the 40s, 168 dead, 21 of them are under 16. And like Frank Keegan, there's a poem about him, how he was a hero and he went in to rescue everything. And I was like, this is a wonderful story. But then I read further, Frank Keegan was the mine inspector. Whose fucking fault is it when it blew up? He's the mine inspector. Whose fault was that? Shouldn't you have been checking to make sure it doesn't blow up, Frank?
Is it in the poem? Can I just say, on the topic of family stuff, maybe the nicest detail in all of the book was when he went to play for Scunthorpe. Do you remember this? Graham Taylor's dad was somehow involved. Was he a journalist somehow on the beat? Anyway, he was involved in and around Scunthorpe. And Keegan, who was a young, precocious talent, I suppose, used to pretend to be a dummy with Graham Taylor's dad as the ventriloquist. That is just so funny.
Well, I've got another one. Well, he used to be called Joseph, right? He changed his name to Kevin when he joined Liverpool. But go on, Kevin, go and take your baby brother out for a walk. he used to take his little baby brother out in a pram and then use his pram as a goalpost with the baby inside. His mum was angry when he got whacked in the face. Also, do you notice Bill and Ben popped up? Bill and Ben, Flower Pot Men. Do you see that? You're learning English culture now, Johnny. Lovely stuff everywhere. Also, Torchy the Little Battery Boy. I don't remember that. I like the sound of it. Torchy the Little Battery Boy. Lovely.
Can you help me with something then? Talking about British culture. So I guess I could have looked at a map. He's from the deep in Yorkshire with this kind of accent as you've done. But he's 50 miles from Nottingham. Isn't that like in the Midlands? I know there has to be a boundary somewhere. Because he did a 50 mile run across the Peak District, which he failed in. But then he did another one from Nottingham, which apparently is an easier run. A 50-mile run when he was like 16 years old.
Yeah, the kid, it's just unflappable, and he's just not unflappable, but indefatigable. He's just, the lad just goes and goes. He's like Torchy, the little battery boy.
He is Torchy, the little battery boy, isn't he?
He is 5'8", Torchy. Yeah, well, Nottingham's got a border with Yorkshire, so that's why. Yeah, anything north of Nottingham is for north, basically.
So you're the Nottingham is the Midlands.
Yeah, it's just directly north. Yeah, Doncaster's not very far from Nottingham. Sheffield's not very far from Nottingham. Yeah, just anything north of Nottingham is the north, basically.
So if you had just been 50 miles further north, you would have this beautiful accent.
That's right. I'd sound like fucking Sean Bead, wouldn't I? I know. It's one of the great regrets. Instead, I sound like this. Some sort of pseudo Beckham. Awful.
Those are strong accents, aren't they?
Oh, it's the best accent. I strongly believe, but it's certainly the best British accent. Like, fucking manly, isn't it? So I know what I like, and I like what I say, and I say what I like. That's right.
Let's get on through his career then. He signs for Scunthorpe. He plays under Jack Brownsword. What a smashing name. He was there when he was 17, and then he went to Liverpool for £33,000, and he was on £50 a week. Simpler times now. He was there under Shankly, and he loves Shankly.
Absolutely loves him, yeah.
Yeah, and he does a good job of kind of talking about Shankly. I like this little story. So they're going up against West Ham. You know, he's trying to G Keegan up for the match. He was saying you don't need to worry about Bobby Moore. He's totally spent. He's past it. Moore was actually quite good, but Keegan had a great game and he scored a goal. And then Keegan comes back in and he's like, Shankly's like, you did that against Bobby Moore. He's one of the best players in the game. That guy is absolutely amazing. I just thought that was lovely.
Yeah, it's brilliant management, that, isn't it? Absolutely brilliant management.
Unlike Bob Paisley, the Rat. That was Bob Paisley's nickname.
Well, he's a right fucking knobhead, isn't he, Bob Paisley? Like, doesn't want him to play for England because he goes off to play in Germany. It's absolutely outrageous.
He was a part-time masseuse when he was a coach under Shankly. Shankly must have felt pretty aggrieved when he was coming back into, or is it the train Melwood, is it? Coming back into Melwood. And his part-time masseuse, the Rat, was having him chased out of there.
Well, what have we learned about Bob Paisley? Not very loyal to your old friends, are you, Bob? Not at all. Well, I'll very quickly talk about something from his childhood again, if you don't mind. Apparently, Keegan and his friends used to break into a mortuary for a bit of fun on the weekends. Break into a mortuary, and one time he broke into a mortuary. Someone told him that Father Christmas was dead. He breaks in. There's a big fat man with a big white beard dead. He thinks Santa's dead. It's fucking... Did you ever break into a mortuary as a kid for a laugh? I didn't.
I grew up beside a lunatic asylum, and I don't think they call it that anymore. But there was a mortuary, and we used to hang around on the roof of it, but we never broke into it.
Oh, that was more sinister than I expected. There you go. Pretty good. So anyway, at Liverpool, he becomes, so much more than anyone would ever have anticipated. He strikes up a partnership with John Toshak, which is basically, it's gone into legend back home. Like, I mean, the whole big man, little man, that was Toshak and Keegan, right? That was the blueprint for the big man, little man strike force, or as far as I'm aware. People would always refer to that as like, well, yeah, that's what you want. Big man, little man. Big man knocks it down, little man runs on, scores. And that was Keegan and Toshak. And as I say, they had this understanding that was so strong that they had to be checked on live TV to see if they genuinely were telepathic, which it turns out they weren't.
the kind of Liverpool stuff, as interesting as it is, because he went from, this kind of young fella, this precocious youngster, to this kind of global kind of superstar at Liverpool. That's what happened, right? But the football itself it's not the most interesting stuff in this book. Certainly to someone of my vintage. How many European Cups did he win in Liverpool? Was it 2 at Liverpool?
2 European Cups at Liverpool.
And he's an adventurous spirit. And that's where he's similar to Puskas, I suppose, isn't it? That kind of wide-eyed innocence, but then that kind of the adventurous spirit. When he went to Germany, Bob Paisley didn't want him to play for England, and he said this publicly. That's how rare it was at the time. Obviously, when we're looking back, someone going to play in Germany, who cares? But at the time, this is a big deal, because obviously people from like Paisley were from that war generation as well.
Yeah, there's a bit where he gets stuck into Cluffy as well, right? Cluffy's talking about who's going to win the World Cup, and he asks him snidely, "Where'd you bet your Deutschmarks then, Kevin?" And Keegan comes back, he's like, "Oh, did you get that suntan from being patriotic, did you, Brian?" Like, apparently in the old days, to even visit abroad was like absolutely outrageous. It's wild. Like, I can remember in Cluffy's book, he's like, "Oh, Keegan's back after drinking their water in Spain." Like, how dare you go abroad, you scumbag.
But yeah, he really goes after some of the sacred cows of every football here, doesn't he? Evil Bobby Robson. Evil Bobby Robson. Later in the book, it's the first time anyone has ever said anything negative of Bobby Robson, and I didn't think it would be Keegan.
Well, that's funny, isn't it? But that was where he got a bit Partridge again, because he's like, "Oh, Bobby Robson treated me very badly. I wasn't amused to hear he was spat at and swore at when he next visited St James's Park." No, that's too far. That's too far. Funny, isn't it? Because Bobby Robson obviously goes on to be like the biggest legend. So in Hamburg, you see he has a new coach, Branko Zebek. Did that ring any bells for you, Johnny?
Yeah, kind of. I can't remember why. Tell me why.
Beckenbauer. He was manager of Beckenbauer at Bayern Munich. It's a fucking small world, old football, isn't it?
It's when he went to Hamburg that he fires up the old perm, isn't it?
Yeah, well, he does fire up the perm. Yeah, the players at first did not appreciate him. I think he was rather oversold when he came in. I believe the Hamburg chairman said, "With Keegan and God, we're going to win a title," and they resented him coming in, being paid as much as he was paid. He said he got paid 10 times at Hamburg what he got paid at Liverpool.
I think they were kind of put out because they've been doing quite well. And the chairman was like, "These fucking idiots. Finally, we have someone to steer this hopeless ship of ours."
But it's lovely to see when Keegan says he does know he is accepted, is when the fullback for Hamburg turns up with a perm, and he's like, "Oh, I'm one of them now. I'm one of them." But people used to do that. He says it in the book. Like, people used to go into a hairdresser and just say, "Give me a Kevin Keegan."
Yeah.
Imagine
Do you remember when we did the Do You Speak Football book? And wasn't there a term in German for hair?
I think it was Danish. You called it a Bundesliga, which meant a mullet.
That's quite nice, isn't it?
That was the best term in the whole book. That and the fecal plug. I love a Bundesliga. It just is so evocative. It's right.
Yeah. So yeah, eventually he turns things around. Juventus try to sign him. He gets the European Player of the Year. Things turn out from all right at Hamburg, really, in the end, don't they? But
yeah, he gets to another European Cup final. Oh, it'd be great if he won, wouldn't it? No, because he played for the greatest team in the world. Loses to Forest. Yeah.
I didn't realise that Forest had such an easy run on both their European triumphs, which is what Keegan says. Reading between the lines, Al, did you beat Malmo first time? And then some other...
It was different in the old days, Johnny. You're very ignorant. We beat Ajax on the way to that European final. Ajax, Johnny.
He says specifically that he had a very easy run to the final the year that he played them.
Yeah, well, Keegan sometimes is a twat. I mean, like, sometimes he's cool, but sometimes he's a dick.
These guys, like, they're funny. Keegan he's such an innocent little soul in a way, isn't he? Himself and Terry McDermott doing things like Terry McDermott dressed up as a sheikh.
Sheikh Al Terry Mac.
When they were playing for Newcastle, and they had all of the old guys on the board convinced that this fella coming to see them was a real sheikh, and Keegan came in ahead of Sheikh Terry Mac and told them that they all had to take off their shoes. That's lovely. That's like Ray Parlour levels of kind of like childish kind of hijinks, isn't it? But I'm racing ahead. He loves the fact that he had that song. And again, he says that the best moment for him when Head Over Heels in Love, which of course we know from a previous episode, was on Austrian TV when he was...
He says he still meets people that have Head Over Heels as their ringtone. I'd like to meet one of these people, Kevin. You fucking liar. You lie. You've never met anyone with Head Over... What, your wife? Like, your daughter's got Head Over Heels? Nobody's got Head Over Heels as their ringtone. You could be the biggest Newcastle fan in the world. You wouldn't have Head Over Heels as your fucking ringtone. Liar.
But you said still? People didn't have ringtones.
Well, this was when the book was written in 2018.
Oh, gosh. Anyway, he said he was on Austrian television, lip-syncing Head Over Heels in Love, sitting in the lap of a middle-aged woman.
And he had to remove her glasses at one point. He says he was thrilled in a reference to Spinal Tap. You know, they're currently residing in the Where Are They Now files. He says he heard a DJ playing Head Over Heels in Love, and the DJ going, "This is my smash of the week." It's like, yes. And is that because the DJ smashed the record after he played it? And did you listen when he came back to England after his time in Hamburg? He released another song, "England Is My Home." Did you listen to that song?
I didn't, but I saw also, who was it?
Gloria Honeyford.
It's Gloria Honeyford, that's real.
You don't know who Gloria Honeyford is?
I know the name. She did an Irish version.
Yeah, she did. She did Wish You Were Here, the travel programme back in the 80s and 90s, I think.
What's her connection with Ireland and why is she singing?
She's Irish. She must be Irish. Can we talk about some of his hapless things? So there's one time, he gets in a few fights, doesn't he? Obviously, he gets in a very famous fight with Billy Bremner, and he was sent off at the Charity
You've seen
Shield.
that, right? Yeah,
it's proper fight, isn't it? Proper.
Yeah, and Keegan was a little boxer. He was indeed a boxer. He trained as a boxer when he was a kid.
Yeah. And he says at one time when he was in Germany, he got in a fight as well, punched a bloke, didn't wait for the referee, stormed off down the pitch, just like got in his car, drove home. And when he got home in the winter, his wife was not at home, so he had to sit in the car for hours freezing because she didn't expect him at home till after the game. So pure Keegan. Or how about this one? This is pure gold, right? So he's playing for England, and they're doing a tour of Eastern Europe. Do you remember this? And he bought some beautiful pottery in Sofia. Beautiful pottery. And they travelled to Belgrade in Yugoslavia. And one of the England lads, and they weren't wearing England uniforms, and they were just arsing around at the, the baggage carousel. And he is forced into a room by Yugoslavian police and beaten for half an hour, forced onto his knees, his head down, and just savagely beaten for 30 minutes. I don't know why it's funny. His beautiful pottery was smashed. He said it would stop for a bit, but then another man would come and continue. And only when Ted Crozier, the head of the FA, came to intervene did it stop. I don't know why it's funny. And he said he'd never set foot in Belgrade again, never set foot in Yugoslavia again until he was persuaded to by Branko Zebek. And that's not his last beating. Oh, poor old Keegan. Poor old Keegan. All right, well, we're getting... All right, so...
You know, like, in terms of the actual football, he goes Liverpool, Hamburg, Southampton, Newcastle, and like, none of it is, you know, it's all kind of fun. And what's fun is just this kind of little... His hijinks and his hapless kind of moments all along, interwoven here and there. And he is interesting. And there are interesting insights in the football as well. But again, going back to the podcast thing, this is such an unusual football journey, isn't it? Hamburg to Southampton? Didn't expect that, did you?
No, well, he had the opportunity to go to Juve, but his wife was concerned that they'd be targeted by kidnappers, and probably with good reason in the Keegan lad. Almost definitely they would be targeted. It would just see some hapless criminals like Keystone Cops would come after him.
He's walking down the main street of Naples with his expensive crockery for everyone to see. No wonder he's always getting himself in trouble.
he tells us he fancied doing a small club thing. So that's what he literally said. He'd been at big clubs. He'd been at Liverpool. He'd been at Hamburg, and he wanted to go to a small club where he thought he could win the title with Southampton. And you have a look at that team, and it's pretty decent, isn't it?
He does that repeatedly as a manager too, doesn't he? Takes these kind of like projects. He's kind of a project manager, a fixie-uppy. You know, he's kind of like what's that thing? Houses in the Sun or whatever the name of that TV show. What's that called?
Grand Designs.
One of those kinds of things. He's into that. That's what he does. He takes an old fixer-upper and he fixes it up. That's what he does as a manager. So you can see why it appealed to him as a player as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He was persuaded by Laurie McMenemy. I mean, he has a good time at Southampton. He doesn't really win anything, but I think it's pretty safe to say he's a Southampton legend, isn't he? I mean, wherever he went, he scored goals. Wherever he went.
Yeah, and I just can imagine he's such a positive dude. It must be just really nice to have him around, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say so. And he's a great example as well. He said he was like so much fitter than all the other England players. He was an example to everyone. Never touched a drink, in contrast to every other footballer of that time. I mean, imagine being teetotal back in the 70s as a footballer. He must have felt pretty ostracised.
Yeah, but he's got such positive energy. Some of the people who've never drank seem to be the kind of most upbeat people of all. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, well, something wrong with them, isn't there? Anyway, so, yeah, no, I tell you what, and I always wondered what the connection with Newcastle was. You know, when he went back, he was returning. So at the end of his time in Southampton, he goes to second division Newcastle because he sees it as a project, and it's also his dad's home. So he felt an affinity with Newcastle. So off he went to Newcastle in the second division, and he becomes a legend there as well. So legit legend at Liverpool, legend at Hamburg, legend at Southampton, legend at Newcastle.
This is when evil Bobby Robson has him out of the England team. He meets Keegan and tells him he's all part of his plans. And then he finds out from the press, essentially, that he's out. Very on Bobby Robson-like, I think.
Yeah, it is peculiar, and it's in contrast to everything else I've ever heard about Bobby Robson, but clearly Robson didn't like the cut of his jib, did he?
Yeah, maybe there was just something about the lovable face of Kevin Keegan that said Bobby Robson rubbed him up the wrong way.
So yeah, again, so he has some successful years at Newcastle, successfully gets them promoted, but he knows his time has come, and this makes me feel old. He knew his time has come when he got robbed of the ball by Mark Lawrenson, a young Mark Lawrenson. He was so fast. It's like, well, it's weird to think of Lawrenson as ever being fast or anything good, really. Just a moany old grandma on the TV is how I picture him. Through on goal, he gets tackled by Lawrenson, and he knows that's it. He's done. Bows out at the top, really.
He likes to make a rash decision, Keegan.
Yeah, he definitely does. He definitely does. If he's feeling that way, he does it. But I think it's served him well on the whole.
And this was mentioned in one of the previous books. It might have been Parler said something to the effect of, when Keegan makes up his mind, you can't really change his, whatever course of action he's decided on, you can't change his mind.
He's not a man with regrets, eh? There's only two regrets he has, and that's England and the Newcastle's second time around. So I think it served him well. And he also gave himself a lot of thinking time, eh? So as he retires as a footballer, he spends 8 years out the game. He just spends 8 years retired in the south of Spain, and that just sounds lovely.
Yeah, right, playing golf. You'd love that, Al.
Well, not the golf bit, but they're not doing anything for 8 years. That would suit me very nicely. Yeah, lived on a golf course on the 7th green. They called it 7th heaven. Well done. Yeah, so he was out there, as Cluffy says, drinking their water. And then Newcastle come a-knocking. This is what he's most famous for now, isn't it?
I suppose if you're from an older generation, Keegan is he still going to be remembered predominantly as a player? I guess he would be, no? If you were that good. But to our generation, the Newcastle stuff, yeah, is what I remember him for, certainly. And it sounds brilliant. Like, it just sounded so exciting.
Yeah, absolutely does. But yeah, it starts off very excitingly. I think he's in a chapter coming home. So he's decided to take this job in management. He thinks he's going to pop over to England to set up a house for his wife and family. But he's on the south coast. He's been driving for a long time. He's tired. Just pulls off on a little bylane, has a little sleep. Before he knows it, he's savagely beaten by a group of men with baseball bats. Again, this was. I don't know why it's funny, but it is sort of funny. And he's like, to be home again. That's the name of the chapter. To be home again. He comes back, has a little kip in a bylane, and a group of people beat him senseless. Another 20 minutes of absolute hell for Keegan, and they steal his wallet. But as he says at the end, the joke was on them because I only had pesetas in my wallet, and good luck using a credit card with the name Kevin Keegan on it. I mean, that's true, isn't it? Like, is your name Kevin Keegan? Yes. He's off to Newcastle, getting the band back together. He gets Terry McDermott, who is selling hamburgers at a racecourse.
Yeah, it's
wild, isn't it? In the old days, isn't it? Absolutely wild. It's just wild.
What's Luka Modric doing now? He's selling burgers at a at a race ground outside Zagreb. Yeah, it doesn't work like that anymore, does it?
No, it doesn't. So he comes in. Oh, and Terry Mack brings him a present. Keegan, by this stage, had played with Pele, Maradona, and Cruyff. But he'd never seen anything like a young Peter Beardsley. Never, never, never. Peter Beardsley is the best player he ever saw.
Bought from Canada, no less.
Yeah, the Vancouver Whitecaps. He was a good player, in fairness.
I think if you look like Beardsley, it's necessary for you to be absolutely phenomenal. That's presumably why he was getting drummed out of everywhere, because he was just an unlikely looking fella.
Yeah, I want to do that Bob Mortimer impression now, but I won't.
I liked listening to that, but I used to skip those parts. It was too much. It was just too sad. Some highlights, some Newcastle highlights for me. Pavel Serdacek kicking a 19-year-old Lee Clark in the head after Lee Clark had tackled Kevin Keegan in a training match. I like that a lot. Steve Watson used to do somersault throw-ins. I just didn't have Steve Watson as a somersault throw-in kind of fella. David Ginola, so they trained at a ground that they shared with a university. And David Ginola was talking to some other kid who was running around there who he assumed was a Newcastle player. It turns out this guy played for the university. And the young fella had agreed to take Ginola out to show him around Newcastle so he could find the best restaurants. But he wasn't a player at Newcastle at all. That was absolutely lovely. But also, maybe this was the best bit. Kevin Keegan and his former manager at Newcastle, and then the fellow who became his kind of a long time assistant coach, Arthur Cox, putting towels on their heads to look like judges and barristers when they were trying their players for minor offences. Isn't that just so nice?
It's just so nice. You'd love him, wouldn't you? You'd absolutely love him if it was your boss. You would. You'd run for a wall for him. He's just.
But this is it.
Gorgeous.
I was thinking about that. He replaced Hoddle, right? And as England manager, and he's kind of, I guess, seen as kind of tactically kind of stupid and having lost this big mind game war with Ferguson, but just his sheer positivity would just lift the place by 100%, you know?
Well, that's it with Ferguson. That's how we saw it at the time. I think I might have mentioned at the time Fergie wasn't seen as warmly as he is now. I might have mentioned that on the podcast. But yeah, Keegan was the little angel and Fergie was the devil. They were like the dichotomy of English football. Newcastle were everything that was good about football, and Man United were everything that was bad about football. Or at least it seemed that way to the neutral.
I find that hard to believe. John Hall, scumbag. Didn't expect that. Kindly old gent, he seemed, you know. But he was kind of doing some kind of double dealing with Keegan when he arrived. And he was dicking him around. And this is when I'm saying that Keegan kind of makes rash decisions. He wanted to leave 36 days after joining Newcastle because Hall wouldn't release. It was a 90,000 to buy some player I hadn't even heard of, and Hall was kind of essentially talking out both sides of his mouth really to Keegan, and he was out the door only for Terry McD. What was he called? Shake what?
Shake Al Terry Mac.
Shake out Terry Mac. Convinced him to stay on. He also said Andy Cole was tapped up.
Yeah. But I imagine that just happened all the time.
He also kind of implies that Andy Cole's a bit of a weirdo.
No. Andy Cole? No.
I hope my mother's not listening. The Newcastle kind of crescendo is leading up until March, and what was it? Were they 12 points ahead and then losing the league? That's kind of, he stayed on after that, but that's the main point, right?
What is interesting is there was only one game to go when he gives it. I'd love it if we beat them. It's a bit late for that, Kev, isn't it? We just got one game to win, and yeah, it was already done and dusted by that point.
Exactly, the whole thing was over. I think it was just what he was saying is was it Middlesbrough United playing on the last day of the season?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, they still would go up to Middlesbrough and get a result.
Yeah, I remember that game. I watched it in the Royal Hotel in Carlow. That Royal Hotel has been closed for about 30 years. I once went back there years later with a friend after the pub. It was kind of an abandoned hotel. And my friend says, come along, we'll go in. I know a secret way in. I was like, fine. And then we went, and the hotel was across the road. And we went over there, and I was kind of, what's going on here? And then my friend booted his foot through the glass window. That's your secret way in. And that was enough for me. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Anyway, yes, United won the league, though. The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, there's two personal details about that run-in. I was at the Forest-Newcastle game where Newcastle desperately had to win that game to stay in the title race. And I went to that game hoping that Newcastle would win. But it's funny, you actually get in the ground, then you're there playing with Newcastle, all the Newcastle fans, and there were Newcastle fans in the Forest end as well. And within about 5 minutes, I did not want Newcastle to win that game. I wanted Forest to win the game. No one won the game, but it was a 1-1 draw. And that was basically Newcastle's title over. A lot of sad faces. And the other thing is one of the reasons Ferguson was claiming that teams weren't trying properly is that Stuart Pearce was playing for Forest and they still had to play Newcastle. And Newcastle had agreed to do a testimonial for Stuart Pearce's 10 years at Forest. And I was at that game as well. And it was a load of fun. And Terry McDermott and Keegan played in that game in the second half. And Keegan scored a penalty.
That's fun.
Yeah, and Mark Crossley played on the wing. And it was just, who's the fat cunt on the wing? Who's the fat cunt on the wing? All the way through the game. Yeah, lovely memories.
That is nice. But that's the Newcastle stuff.
But then he goes on to deal with other huge figures from the late 20th century. He goes straight off to Fulham. Al Fayed.
But at this point, as I said, or we said earlier, he went to play for Southampton when he could have went to play for Juventus. Why did he go to manage Fulham? And again, in the second division, when he could have presumably managed any number of teams in the Premier League. It's funny, isn't it?
Well, this is what you talk about. I think a project man, and it's like that Mrs. Merton question to Paul Daniels' wife, Debbie McGee. So what was it that made you marry the millionaire Paul Daniels? What was it that made you want to work for the multi-millionaire Al Fayed? I'm sure there's a lot of money involved, I would imagine.
But also, he talked about when Michael Jackson came. Kind of new questions about why Al Fayed and Michael Jackson would be hanging around suddenly, isn't there?
It's just... I mean, it's great if you're him, right? It's before all the allegations. As far as you know, it's just, look, there's Michael Jackson at my workplace. Absolutely wild.
Yeah. Isn't there a statue of Jackson?
I think they removed it.
Really?
I think I'm right in saying it's in the football museum in Preston. I think that's right. I think they moved it to there.
Did you know this thing about hairy German snails saving Craven Cottage?
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, they were going to knock it down, but there was, rare snails.
Yeah, so United played there at the weekend, and, they do that thing. Don't they come out from the corner of the pit, the little house in the corner, and there was that shot of them before they were running onto the pitch, and it just looks so different than all the other grounds. It's kind of cool, isn't it?
I mean, people go crazy about Fulham. I've never been there, but everyone talks. It's so romantic, isn't it? Walking along the Thames to those. It's a posh part of London. It's nice.
It's got the oldest stand in England, and the reason it wasn't knocked down is because there's a rare snail, which is quite fun. And Dodi Al Fayed was killed by the British Security Services.
Well, it's a theory.
Well, that's something like that, but presumably get a lot more currency now. Although you've always just been a bit worried about the royal family. Maybe everyone was just happy to look the other way on that one.
Not me, Johnny. Dig deeper. This is when England comes calling. Al Fayed gives Keegan to England as a present. Thank you, Al Fayed. Can I have a passport now? Still can't. No. Why do you want a British passport so much? I don't really understand. Anyway, so so this is sad. This is the worst thing about Key's career, because he has just all this glory, but he ends on two. No, he doesn't end on two regrets in a row, but he ends on the England, which was pretty much a disaster. Man City, which was okay, and then the final time in Newcastle. The whole England thing is so poignant and sad. He just didn't do very well. As he says himself, he has the worst win percentage of any English manager. So, like, fair enough. He just fronts up and says he wasn't up to it. He wasn't good enough manager to do it. It's wild, isn't it? Like,
but we've had Keown and Parler, these fellas who struggled under Hoddle, and then they got caps off. Caps under Keegan. Can you imagine the shift in tone from Hoddle to Keegan? Can you just imagine that? Like,
yeah, there's a conflicting story here, isn't there? Because in the last one we read about Ray Parler saying that it was Owen and Shearer who lost their asses because they were pretending to be bookmakers. Oh, Sheringham and Shearer, quite right. Yeah. But this time, in this book, it's Kevin Keegan says it's him. He was the bookmaker, and they opened up one of the videos which they watched, and he didn't know, and they all took him for all his money. So that's wild.
Are the two things possible?
Maybe both. Yeah, maybe we're all up to it.
Yeah.
But I remember that draw with Germany. I mean, it was just grim. It was grim. I was in a pub in Nottingham. I remember it was a weird day. I remember it. Hearing him resigned in the toilets, as he famously did, just not up to it. And off he walked. A wiser but sadder man.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a bit sad, isn't it? You can't do that to our little Kevin. Our little torture boy.
Yeah, he is a little torchy boy. Yeah, so then to Man City. Here's the deal with the drinkers.
Yeah, things we knew already. And then Nicholas Anelka, not a very easy individual, apparently. We knew that one. Eyal Berkovic, though, absolute prick. And Richard Dunn was a total mess of a boozer and was going to be drummed out of the club. But he got one last chance and he turned it all around, which is great because he was a kind of a joke character for the first half of his Ireland career, and then he was an absolute fucking diamond for the second half. Yeah,
well, it apparently was probably Keegan's intervention, right? I mean, like, he really was getting rid of him, and he had to have Gordon Taylor, the PFA chairman, like, come in and beg for his position, and he took his last chance, though, right? So fair play to him.
And the worst thing that anyone could say about Joey Barton is he's not liked by Kevin Keegan, so that's how bad Joey Barton is.
Well, yeah, there was a real damning indictment. It's like, he could be smart, he could be funny, he could be clever, but at the end, he just wants to hurt people. Yeah, that's as chilling as anything I've ever read in any of these football books, with the exception of the non-football book about how many wars in Africa. But he just wants to hurt people.
Yeah, Mark Vivian Foe scored the last Man City goal at Main Road. I didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that. And yeah, he was watching it on TV as he collapsed and died. Yeah, really sad story.
But that brings us to, the Newcastle 0.2 stuff with Mike Ashley, and more importantly, former Chelsea steward Tony Jimenez / former Chelsea steward and then Newcastle kind of sporting director Tony Jimenez. That's quite a party trade, isn't it? It's not the usual.
Yeah, no kidding.
For those fellas.
And there's that Derek Yambias as well, who is another one he's described as the most unpleasant man he's ever met. Yeah. Let me describe to you how bad a sporting director Tony Jimenez was, Johnny. He'd never even heard of Per Mertesacker. It's just let me try and convey to you what a fucking idiot this man was. It was just a funny player to pick, wasn't it? It's like, this player had never picked up. I was like, who's it going to be? What Maradona is it? Alan shit. He's never heard of Per Mertesacker.
But he also had never heard of work permits for South America. So he had a few blind spots, Tony Jimenez.
He's like trying to placate Keegan. He's worried about him. He doesn't think he's got the smartest, Tony Jimenez. And he's like, oh no, I've got these great teenagers from South America to come in. And he's like, okay, how are you going to get them in the country? But by plane, Kevin. They're going to fly in. Yeah, no, I mean, that is a bit of an oversight. It's just, they'll just fly in and then they'll work for Newcastle. That'll be all right, won't it? Yeah, hadn't heard of work permits at this point. Keegan, incredulous, like, oh, can you believe this guy? No work permits, no knowledge of Per Mertesacker. This guy's a complete joke.
Well,
he does look like a nasty bit of work, mate, doesn't he? Like, how did he get in, Dennis Wines? How did you go from being a steward to like, hey, Dennis, you want to get involved in some business opportunities? Well, this steward over here's got some exciting opportunities for me.
That is, oh, he is a nasty looking son of a gun.
He really is, isn't he?
That is very unusual. It's so strange, like, as you say, because it's not that he befriended Wise and he owed everything to Wise. It sounded like Wise would somehow in his debt. That was the way.
Oh, so strange. I mean, Wise was Leeds manager when they appoint him in this sort of like honorary player recruitment role for Newcastle. Just at fucking Leeds. He was doing well as well, if I remember. And now Dennis Wise, he is like, where the fuck is he? I don't know what the fuck Dennis Wise does now. You never see him. You never hear of him. I mean, I'm not sorry about that.
Yeah. You never, he's just kind of gone, right? Did he just burn his boats with everyone in football by being on the Ashley side of things?
Yeah, I bet he's like coaching in Dubai or something now. There was all sorts of funny stuff about those guys. Like, I mean, in all fairness, he doesn't really turn it on Mike Ashley. He turns it on his lieutenants. And, you know, like how you must never contact Ashley. You must go through Tony Jimenez. But there are so many funny stories. Do you ever hear the one? I mean, I think this is litigious, but they're not going to come for us. But like, Derek Yambias used to own casinos. Yeah. And do you remember when Pardew was manager? He had this like ridiculously long contract, like a 10-year contract. And apparently that was all tied in. He didn't get paid. He was just paying off his gambling debts. Now, I don't know if you're allowed to say that, but that's always the story I heard. Like, that's why Pardew had this crazy long contract. He was just paying off gambling debts.
Wow.
That may or may not be true. But that's the story that I heard. People are saying, but yeah, shady as fuck, these lads, all of them.
Yeah,
but it's funny, isn't it? It's going like, oh, I wonder how Mark Ashley feels about what he's done. I'm sure he's very happy with his investment because, well, he bought it for 200 mil and sold it for like 2 billion. So he did all right out of it. He doesn't give a fuck, does he, Mike Ashley? He doesn't give a fuck what Newcastle fans think. He doesn't care.
No, if he proved anything in the entire time he was there, he didn't give a flying fuck about what any of them cared. Yeah. Doesn't he have all these kind of 0-hour contracts and stuff in Sports Direct? I think he's I think it's a nasty company and stuff, isn't it? He's not.
No, I mean, I'm not. I hope I'm not sounding like a defender of Mike Ashley here, but yeah, I mean, like in terms of his business dealings, he don't give a fuck about what Newcastle fans think.
But how do you become the kind of lieutenant of Ashley, having been just a steward at Chelsea? That's kind of quite a leap.
Yeah. I don't know, some short drinking companion. Yeah, just feels like, oh, I met him in a bar. He's that sort of guy, or he feels that sort of guy, Mark Ashley, like just makes his contacts out in like disreputable drinking establishments.
But Keegan was burnt by, so the whole kind of, Keegan's whole, how he puts it is these guys were just trying to sell players behind his back, putting in kind of derisory nonsense bid for players. Like they tried to sign Bastian Schweinsteiger for whatever, some kind of derisory figure, but this was all kind of sold to Keegan so that he would go along with them selling Milner. So they were just kind of selling off, you know, they're taking apart the club for scrap or something. It seems like that. And at one point, Keegan had lined up a possible deal with a young player called Luka Mäuserich. And what's the name of the casino boy? He comes into the...
Derek Yambias.
No, sorry, it was Jimenez comes in. Is it Yambias or Jimenez comes into the meeting?
It's Jimenez, yeah.
Jimenez says, yeah, I don't think... This is in a meeting with Modric's Modric's agent, and Modric is still playing in Croatia. And he comes in, he says, yeah, I don't think Modric is physical enough to play in England.
Yeah, it's the guy who turned down the Beatles, isn't it?
Yeah, gosh. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
there was lots of shit like that, it seems. And obviously Keegan, for his kind of hapless nature, and maybe he's a bit rash at times, but he's a principled dude. He seems like a very principled dude in a world that's not a very principled one. And how he ended up in league with someone like Ashley is kind of a bit of a head scratcher, really.
Well, I think it's just the lure of Newcastle, right? He just wanted to come back to Newcastle and finish the job he'd started. I mean, he loves Newcastle, right? He really, really loves them. And they love him back. I can get the appeal. But yeah, it all ended on a very sad note. I mean, in the end, he takes them to court for constructive dismissal. He's put in these ridiculous situations. They're just doing they're doing agents favours left, right and centre, just parking players, moving them around.
That's kind of it.
Yep. It is one of the best books we've done, Johnny.
Yeah, it was a pile of fun. Keegan is such a likeable fella, and he's lived... Okay, I kind of made fun of the title of the book, but he has had a life in football. And what a life. He's had an incredible life.
And more than that, he just seems like a happy, sentimental old granddad now as well. You know, he's happy with his lot, loves his grandkids, talks very proudly about them. He's got a grandkid called Zabian, who supports Man United, which is a sweet little note.
Yeah, he's lovely. Okay, well...
Oh, yeah, and he was married all this time, one lady, no affairs, nothing like that, just a good family man.
Jean,
when he got beaten up in that... Yeah, Jean. When he got beaten up in... Jean. He met her on the waltzes at Doncaster Fair when he was 18 and she was 16. Just lovely, isn't he? Lovely. Yeah, the only time that he was suspected of any sort of wrongdoing was when he was beaten up in the lay-by near Newhaven, and the newspapers were looking to see if he was down some lover's lane with a hooker. No, he wasn't. He was just having a nap because he was tired. Awful son. A nice man, a good dad, good husband, great footballer. One of the greatest footballers that ever walked the earth, Johnny. One of the greatest. Top 500 of all-time footballers.
Yeah, that's something, isn't it? Yeah, that's Kevin Keegan. So how many bubble perms? Is this bubble perms?
That'll do. Or savage beatings.
Savage beatings is more fun because he has had a few.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I'm giving this 4.5 out of 5 savage beatings. I really enjoyed it. I really did. And the thing is, I learned things about it. I didn't know what his Newcastle connection was. I didn't know what he'd been doing when he was out of the game. I learned a lot about him. This was not all stuff I knew already. Yeah,
I'll give it 4 savage beatings. I thought it was put together well. I thought it was a good book. Well done to Keegan, but also well done to Daniel Taylor. I think the whole thing was very nice.
Yeah, very coherent, beautifully put together. The parts are separate. And as you say, there's not too much tedious football detail. You just get more of an outline of the man, and the man's life. It's a perfect football book. Really, really good.
Oh, by the way, Al, I forgot to say. We got a message on Instagram, Al, saying, how about Bobby Robson's autobiography? I feel there's a lack of Northeast representation in your repertoire. And then he suggests Keegan either. And he says, we've had about 5 Forest players beyond the pale. There you go.
Well, make your own fucking podcast, dickhead.
that was Jack Lingard. Thanks, Jack. That was a lovely recommendation.
No, sorry, Jack. We haven't. We just had Clough and Taylor, right? We've never done a Forest player.
Take that, Jack. But yeah, okay. We have Stuart Pearce coming down the track, though, so there you go.
All right, great. And next week's five-a-side in tribute to Keegan is dodgy haircuts, right?
Okay, Al. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Johnny. And we'll see you next week.
Let your body spin like there is nothing in life but dancing. just look like